Stuart Cruz here. I am your Life Applications Officer this afternoon. Um, I'm going to be frank with you about something that I talk a lot about on my channel. I'm going to be very frank and very clear as I can be. Um, and I'm really trying to help black people. I really am in this video. I am I'm not trying to point the finger at you, but I'm trying to help you because I know um, where all this comes from. And I know um, that a lot of my Republican conservative favorites are so bent on, and I didn't know this until like just recently, but a lot of my Republican conservative favorites, they have a tendency to act like white people can never do any wrong. That it's always, it never is racism. It never is, we're so bent on trying to protect, the right, and we're so busy trying to protect, being a conservative and a Republican is not about protecting white people. If it is, somebody need to let me in on a secret. That's not what it's about. But, when you listen to certain people, like, this video that Brandon Tatum did today, or that he did this week, and I watched it today. Dude, you ain't from Africa, so why you going there? Just like the dude that said it ain't from Africa. Maybe he used to be, or he went to visit. You ain't from Africa either. So why are you trying to like spit it back out at him? Okay? Let Africa worry about whether or not they feel that the term Africa is too small on the map. And I understand. And I asked them back. Like, I had to ask them, like, well, you got to admit, if you're going to put Africa on a continent, if you're going to put Africa on a map of all the continents, and you got all the continents of the West on there, but Africa is this small. Why is that? Africa is huge. Africa is very diverse. It's dozens of different peoples and languages and cultures and areas and tribes and you name it. Why would you put, okay? Why would you put that as the smallest thing on the map? Now that's just one map that this guy was complaining about, but he was saying that it's on a number of maps. So I don't know, but that's just one of the things that I heard today. Another one was uh, Jesse Lee Peterson. I love Jesse Lee Peterson. Not everything about Jesse Lee Peterson, but Jesse Lee Peterson has a habit of saying there's no such thing as racism. There's just evil and good. Well, racism is evil. No one's denying that there's just evil and good, but what are the ways of being evil? One of the ways of being evil or paying back evil is racism. Okay? Now, do I believe in racism? I believe in racism as anybody can be racist if they choose to be. I believe in racist people. I believe in racist remarks. I believe in racist forms of attitude towards other people. And it's not a black thing as much as it is an immigrant thing or a problem for non-white people. Okay. So, yes, I do believe that there is racism, but I don't believe that racism controls the black community. I don't believe racism is the fault of what black people are doing in their homes, raising their children. I don't believe racism is the reason why many blacks are in prison for crimes that they did commit. I don't think anything about racism can make black people commit crimes, but I do know that um, I do know that people can look at you and judge you and say, well, okay, the good blacks are only a certain percentage of the population to be good blacks, so we don't care. And I've had people tell me this on the Colin Flaherty channel, like, you know, we're not concerned about 5% or 10% or 20%. If the good blacks only equal 20%, then you know we can just flush them, you know. And they've said it. They've said it right here on live YouTube. How racist can you be? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's not anyone's job to sort it out. And separate one person from many, or, you know, separate the 5% from the other 95%, or whatever the number may be. But yet it's my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not allowed to go out there and you know, it'd be wrong for me, not wrong for me as a black man, because black people do it and get away with it every day, but me as a Christian, it'd be wrong for me to say that, oh, well, only a certain amount of white people are non-racist. You know, flush the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? Or flush them all because of that small percentage. It'd be wrong to me to say who's racist and who's not based on what. You know. But I don't believe in racism as a systematic thing. I don't believe in systematic racism. I don't believe white people communicate with white people from this community and white people from this community in Australia and in Europe and all over the United Kingdom or whatever, and get all the white people together and they talk about what they're going to do about black people. I don't believe that. But I do believe this, and I've experienced this. I do believe that many white people do try to control crime and the values and the beauty of their neighborhoods by controlling blacks. I do believe that. I do believe that white people, a lot of white people in various neighborhoods, not together, not all these neighborhoods getting together like you may think, but I believe in various neighborhoods because I've experienced it firsthand, that white people do practice segregation by keeping blacks out of their neighborhoods. I do believe that. And to me, that's the only thing that I feel should be addressed and I feel should be fought about and controlled. Because this whole thing of it's not our job to separate one from another and figure it out and do the math, that's racist to me. It really is. Because it's my job to sort it out. I can't go out there and just say all Indians or all Asians or all Arabs or all Muslims, you know, or all Spanish people or all whites. I can't do that. But there are people that do it. Okay? And let me say this, and I'm going to be jumping around because I didn't write anything down, but I remember because it's been on my mind all day, ever since this morning when I was watching. The reason why black people are so bent and so bound by the idea of white people being racist without really catching them in a mode of racism. They just assume. And the reason why is because they feel that if they were in white people's shoes, they would be racist. And so they feel that they're just on the flip side of the end. They're just on the unlucky side. Now, I do believe that if black people had it the way a lot of white people have it today, if the tables was turned where the white people were trying to get out of the ghetto and the blacks were outside the ghetto and doing pretty well and had, parents that were business oriented, owned companies, and they were always the CEOs and managers, lawyers, doctors, you know what I'm saying? They were always the top people wherever they tread their feet. They're the top people. And they always have the finest homes and the finest neighborhoods and, the finest civilization. Is so it seems. If we were black and we had it like that, the tables were turned, and black people had it like that, and whites had it the way we have it today as blacks, stuck in these ghettos. Okay? Would we be racist? I think a lot of us would. I think a lot of us would be racist. And I think personally, I think if black people were in a situation that white people are in, if you want to say that white people are in a situation at all in the first place, if they were in a so-called white privilege situation or black privilege situation like white people are in today, white privilege situation, okay? If blacks were in a so-called black privilege situation, would they discriminate whites? I believe they would. I believe it would either be the same, yet I believe it'd be worse. I believe black folks would totally discriminate against white folks. But I believe there would be more black men, it's just my opinion, there'd be more black men dating outside their race and dating a lot of Asians and a lot of white women. I'm telling you. And I believe in retaliation. And because there's so much of that going on, I believe that a lot of black women would start dating. There'd be more black women, especially today, dating more white men. There'd be more black women dating more white men. Okay, because the black men would be putting their black, sweethearts aside and going after Asian chicks and white chicks. Okay, they'd be going down to the white ghettos if they were, the face of America like white people are. They would be going down to the ghettos and picking these Asian girls up and picking these white women up. I know they would. I just know it. I know it. I know it. I know it. And I've had people disagree with me. You're okay to disagree with me. But I believe that there's something in us that if we had it like that, I feel sorry for black women. And I'm not saying that to be ignorant. I'm not saying that to say that black women aren't beautiful or anything like that. But there ain't no amount of money that the more money and power you got, the more you're gonna start looking at variety. I'll put it like that. You're gonna start looking at your variety options. Okay? And trust me, there ain't no amount of money and no amount of easy living in the black home. Especially if black people act like they act right now. Black women act like they act right now. Okay? Ain't no amount of money, no amount of easy living or nothing in this wealthy black community that's going to keep a black man from not looking, or keep a black man from looking at Asian women and Spanish women and white women. Nothing. No amount of money is going to stop that. If the tables were turned, trust me, the world would be more mixed than it already is. Trust me. Matter of fact, if the tables were different, right now as I'm talking, there would be more mixed people than there are black and white people. All these kids would be biracial. These kids have 4 or 5 races in them. I mean, everybody would be biracial. Because trust me, take it from Africa, take it from the wealthiest black people out there making money, take it from, because I believe one of the only things that keeps some people from, mixing, so to speak, if you want to call it that, relating, connecting the races together intimately like that, is racism itself. I believe that the only thing that's keeping us from is fear. Just like I know a lot of my black friends that I work with and that I go to church with and all that, they like white women. They like white women. They love white women. Okay? And they sit there and say, oh, when I get married, I gotta be a black woman. Okay, why is she picking you up when you live 2 doors up the street? And why is she not taking you home? She's taking you somewhere else, brother. Okay? Why is she not taking you home? Where are you taking her? Where you got her taking you? That you can spend ample time with her while you sit there and say that you only mess with sisters. Huh? But I believe, I was just throwing that in there, but the reason why black people are so bent on claiming that white people are racist, because we judge people by what we think we would do if we were in their shoes. Just like people judge me and they think that I have this problem because if they were 5'3.5" and they look like me, they would have this problem. So they're judging me based on what they would do if they were in my situation. But they're not me. Okay? A lot of people feel that they wouldn't even bother doing security if they were my height. So they pick at me about, me doing security, and they're always ready to talk about, me getting hurt while doing security or something. Why? Because if they were in my situation, they wouldn't do security because they feel they're too small to do security, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I noticed this very prevalent. And not only black people do this to white people, but white people do this to black people too. You know what I'm saying? They think that if they were from the ghetto, they would do violence too. They would do crime too. And they do. White people living in white ghettos do crime and blame it on black people. And they say it's all because of, you know, especially if they do it to black people, or if they defend themselves against black people or whatever, they will say they'll bring black people up. You know. Have I ever been called the N word before? Probably about 3 times in my lifetime. And I've had people approach me, and I've had people approach me and tell me, tell me, and you know what? You know, tell me about myself. But you know what? When they would do that, I would think, you know, they got me mixed up with some other black dude. 'Cause that's not me. But they'll judge me by what other black people are doing negatively. You know, like one guy, when I worked at United Parcel Service back in the day, me and this one guy became enemies because one day out of his mouth, his nasty mouth, he told me, because I was Act 235 then, and I had just left about 10 years experience doing security before I started working for United Parcel Service. Okay? And he was arguing with me one day about some, you know, he's being smart. And he told me that if I own a gun, because I told him I went through training and, you know, I completed my lethal weapons training and I own a gun and billy club, handcuffs. He says, you're a liar. If you owned a gun, you stole it. Did you not just hear me say that I am Act 235? My last job before working here, I was an armed guard. You so looking at the color of my skin, you didn't hear me say that. Oh, if I own a gun, I stole. All he heard was gun. He freaked out. Oh, you own a gun? You didn't hear me just say why I own a gun. I never worried about a gun to protect myself till I became a security officer. But this brother, this white brother, which me and him are good friends today, but we had to go through that trial there, you know, he could not hear anything but gun, okay, and black. That's all he heard was gun. And he looked at he looked at me and he said, oh, well, if you ever owned a gun, you stole it. And I was looking for everybody to laugh, but they all looked at me like, dude, that's brutal. Did you steal the gun? Then we had a situation where on the way to us, one of the trailers, the preloading trailers, they found a gun in it on the way to us. These knucklehead detectives don't understand that the trailers get moved around all over the place in that period of time. So just because it's coming to us don't mean that it was shipped out from us last night. But these detectives came in there and they went through all the black eyes first to investigate a gun that was found in one of them feeders. Okay, Brandon, Jesse, okay, all my conservative brothers, you gonna tell me that we shouldn't be concerned about that? You gonna tell me that we should think that was fair? We way over here in Westmoreland County, we gotta wait for hours for this shipment to get to us. Ain't no telling how them trailers been changed around overnight. They use whatever they need to do to make deadlines cross. If the truck's coming in, okay, because they're going to send us an empty one. You don't. These detectives don't get it. They're sending us an empty trailer. It's not coming here with anything in it. So who's going to hide a gun in an empty trailer where everybody can see it? When it gets here, it'll be empty. We have to hurry up and load it. Oh, wait a minute. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. We had to unload it. It was on the second shift that we reloaded them. Okay, I worked the shift where we unloaded them. So they wanted to ask us if we had a gun. If we they came to all there was like only what 4 black people working there. Me, James, and there was an older black gentleman. There was 4 of us, 4 black guys working there. One was just like part time. He was only there once in a blue moon. He's a real old fella. It's 4 black guys working there. And the one black dude was about to retire. He was a driver. He wasn't, he wasn't in loading docks. He was a driver. But me and James, was it James? I think it was James. We couldn't. We were totally, we felt violated. We felt horrible about them coming to us first. And James came to me. He said, "When did they come to you?" I said, "Oh, they already came to me." "When did they come to you?" They said they came to me before they came to you. They came to us first, man. All these white people, some of them live clear far away from here and all like that. They got criminal records and everything else. They're going to come to us first. We ain't got nothing. They're going to come to us first. And that was some real profiling. Now, I do believe in racial profiling. And one of the ways that they keep crime out of neighborhoods is to profile black folks. Because why? Black folks commit the majority of domestic crime and theft, and especially armed robbery, breaking in people's homes, that kind of stuff is pro-black. Okay? So, a lot of people will, I recently, before I moved here to this neighborhood, I tried to move into a neighborhood called Bellevue, which is right above the north side of Pittsburgh. And my stepson used to live up there with, when he first got married, he was living out in that part of town. And it's above the north side where there's a lot of crime, a lot of black on black crime on the north side. But above the north side is Westview, Bellevue, and Avalon, and it's a nice place up there, And I went up there. I used to go up there to see my stepson, and I had a friend that tried to help me get a house up there. Now, people know that the majority of black people have bad credit. Okay? So now let's say only a good half of that majority is bad credit for black people. Okay, I might be wrong. Maybe it's not a whole half of the black community. I mean, my mama and my grandmother taught me this, so blame it on them. But the majority of black people that I've met, even some of the most wealthy of us, we have bad credit because we just keep making these silly mistakes. So what did they do? They use our bad credit to keep us from getting these nice apartments in homes in these nice neighborhoods. And so they do the credit check on me, and my credit is horrible. Sorry, you can't live here. So I couldn't move up there, so I tried to get a place right next to my job. I'm thinking, why didn't I think that in the first place? Why don't I just get a place next to my job? And so I tried to get a place next to my job. Even though I would be paying more rent, the guy said he had to do a credit check. He did a credit check. I couldn't move in there. Okay. And I've had people lie to me also about my background check. I know you're lying because I have nothing, absolutely nothing on my record. Maybe some traffic violations as far as like speeding. Okay, speeding tickets. But other than that, I have no thuggery, no aggravated assault, no assault no violence, no domestic violence, no nothing on my record. And how many times have people lied to me? They said they didn't like your license. They didn't like your driver's license. You submitted your driver's license. They didn't like your license. Why am I driving then? So I asked the cop. I walked up to a cop friend I know. I gave him my license, especially when I worked up at Shady Side. I gave him my license. He looked it up. He put his code in there, put his badge number in there, looked that stuff up. He found out. Gave it to a white cop. He looked it up. He said, your record's clean, man. There's nothing here. It tells you that your last traffic violation was way back in such and such a town. Okay? There's nothing else here. Okay? You don't have any points against your license. You don't have this or that. So these people were lying because they didn't want to hire me, or they didn't want me to get that higher pay, or they didn't want me to get that certain position. That's called profiling. I don't call it racism, but I do call it racial profiling. I do believe in racial profiling. I don't believe in racism or systematic racism, white supremacy, white privilege, but I do believe in racial profiling. Okay? Now, I got a friend who used to live in the South that's white. And he used to tell me horror stories about him leaving the North and moving to the South. And he used to tease me. He used to say, black folks ain't got nothing on my city behind. Because when I went down to the South, them white folks let me know that I was not from the South and that I was not one of them. And they was always giving me trouble. They didn't want to live next to me. They didn't want to, they was always trying to make something out of me that I wasn't. They was always profiling me. And I thought that's the craziest thing I ever heard, but it's true. And I've heard other white people say that. I've heard black people say that as well. Is that, you ain't from the South. People tend to treat you a certain kind of way when you do move to the South. And I know people that left the South because of the South and the craziness of the South. Okay? But it's not based on just black and white, but it's based on the South versus the North. We've been going through that since the Civil Rights Movement, since the Civil War, right? We've been going through that. It's been like that since the Civil War. People in the South tend to hate on people from the North. And a lot of times, it's not just that you're black, it's that you are from the North. Or anywhere else except the South. They don't trust you, they don't like you, they think that you don't fit in, whatever. Okay? And it's true. Cops. I said this in the video about cops. Yes, I do believe that some cops have racist stereotypes, racist attitudes. But I believe what's going on in the inner cities, what a lot of black victims, if you want to call it that, what they're going through with the police is not just cops, out on this rampage to just shoot everything black without a good excuse. What it is tension. It's tension because when a cop gets up in the morning to go to work every day, he knows that most of his suspects are going to be black. If a cop is working in the inner city, he knows that most of his criminals will be black. Most of the people that he pull over will be black. If he gets called to the scene of a crime, it's 95% of the time it's going to be black. Black domestic, black drugs, black shootout, black, robbery, black home invasion, black. It's a fact. Okay? These cops know this. Okay? And so it's tension. Like I told you the story about where, I always go out of my way to show police, introduce myself and let them know what kind of man I am before I let them accuse me of any kind of crime, because I understand the tension. It's tension. It's not racism. It's tension. There's a lot of tension between white cops and even black cops as well and the so-called black community all over the globe. A lot of tension. But it ain't just tension between blacks, it's tension between protesters. It's tension between anyone that beats up on his girlfriend. Tension between anyone that would do something like go into a office building and dispose himself, expose himself, or anything of that nature. They about to beat the crap out of you. Like that video that Brandon Tatum showed about the cops beating up that white dude, but it didn't go viral because he ain't black. So it didn't go viral. If he had been black, they'd been marching. They'd have been on TV talking about racism, talking about Democrats, hating on Trump, like Trump even knew about it. They're hating on Trump about it, just bringing his name up, throwing his name in there for good measure. What I'm saying? If he was black, that's the way it would have been. But he was white, so you had to actually dig the footage up. But do I believe that some cops are racist? Sure. I believe some cops join the police force because they are racists. They've been through things coming up, and so their way of dealing with the black community is to become a cop. I believe that with all my heart. I don't believe it's like, it's every other white cop that does that, or any number like that. But I do believe that some cops actually I've caught these country boys red-handed. They want to go to where all the crime is, knowing that the majority of the crime there is going to be black. They want to shoot somebody. They want to be a hero. They want to go after the people that are really, 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 really putting them to work. They weren't content working in a little Middletown neighborhood where white folks do just as much crime as blacks, or the crimes of the neighborhood are just arguments between races, or and there's peace before the cops get there. You know what I'm saying? They're tired of that. They want to go where they're going to have to actually shoot somebody. And I've caught some of these country boys from the South come up here and was unhappy with the suburbs, so they wanted to go further ahead into the inner city. And when I was working at the hospital, I used to hear them talking. And sometimes I walked in, they apologized to me. But they was talking about, giving these black criminals these different names. They didn't come out and call them the N-word, but they called them names. This little, this and that, whatever. You would have been better off calling them the N-word. Okay? They were excited. They felt tough because they took this black man down. But hold on. He was a criminal. And if you knew that a certain race of people were always majority criminal, how would you feel about you taking them down with your gun, with your taser, with your pepper spray, every day of your life? You taking these people down. You feel like you're doing your job. You feel like you're doing the earth justice. Because these particular group of people are constantly doing crime. And if you think that I'm sitting here saying all this stuff, but black folks are exempt from what I'm saying, you are misinformed. Crime in America is majority black. When crime goes down, it's still majority black. If you say that crime has slowed down drastically, okay, in a certain city, How much of it that slowed down was black and how much of it slowed down was white? The crime that's remaining is still majority black. I'm not apologizing for this because it's a fact. Because every day of my life, when crime is done around me, it's majority black. When I was a child, crime was majority black. Whether I was in McKeesport or Pittsburgh, it was majority black. The only time it wasn't majority black is when I went out to the little sundown cities where don't no blacks live. And even there, the crime still wasn't majority white as far as violence and all like that. White people have a habit of getting drunk and slapping their wives around. There wasn't shootings and killings and all like that. Which the worst that would happen is somebody went into the wrong neighborhood and performed a KKK rally and a riot broke out. But if you did a KKK rally in the white neighborhood, black folks didn't come down there and get their butts whooped. They knew how to stay behind the perimeter. But still, there was less crime in a sundown city than there was in the inner city. When these skinheads and these so-called white supremacist groups and that, when they do crime, they do more crime to white people than they do black people. If they do crime to black people, that's like a plus. That's like a, icing on the cake. Now they're doing what they really want to do. But these guys go to prison. They don't go to prison for hurting white people. They go to prison for raping women, for beating up their wives, killing their wives, hiding the body, doing crazy things like going into a school and doing a school shooting or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Any little white neighborhoods that ain't even 1% black. Like that neighborhood in Texas that got shot up. Where was the black folks? I didn't see a single black kid in that school. Now, well, there was a Spanish kid. The one dude who came over there with his gun from the barbershop was a Spanish dude, I believe. But that's the only non-white person I seen in the whole video. All the cops were black. All the cops were white. All the teachers were white. Most of the kids were white. The gunman was white. Why would white people kill their own people? Why would black people kill their own people? But I do believe in racism, but I don't believe that racism controls black people. I don't believe black people can blame so-called racism for why they are the way they are. Now, in closing, I pity us, black America, because we were slaves. We were slaves. That has to mean something. You can't just come over. You can't, we're the only people in this nation that don't have a home to go to. Everybody else, the Indian people can go back to India. White people can go to Australia. They can go to Europe. They can go to, Russia. They can go to Ukraine. They can go to, there's a lot of white skinned nations they could go to. They got family there. Some of them go to Italy. Italians can go to Italy. You know what I'm saying? African people can go to Africa. Haitian people can go back to Haiti. Jamaican people can go back to Jamaica. Chinese people can go to China. Japanese people can go back to Japan. Everybody got a nation to go back to. Or if they never came from there, they can go there and learn something. Where we gonna go? We ain't from Africa. We are not African. Africa is not our home. The Africans sold us into slavery because we were not African. We are more in relation to the Hebrews, where I would agree with the Hebrew Israelites on that. We are more in relation to Hebrews than we are Hebrews and Jews. than we are in relation to Africa. We're more related to the Hebrews. How many Hebrews do you know today? They still speak the Hebrew languages, certain sects of people, but how many people actually call themselves Hebrews? Okay? Without standing on the street crying racism like the Hebrew Israelites. Okay? We are not African. So when people say, take your black A back to Africa, whether they white or black, it's still hilarious because we ain't from Africa. That's why they sold us into slavery, because we wasn't one of them. Duh. But everybody's sitting there saying, you know, Africa, Africa, and you know, and it makes me laugh so hard when I see these black folks talking about, yeah, I was looking at the Egyptians. Well, you know what? Egypt was not Africa either. Okay? And they ain't black folks. Okay? Now, I do believe that, you know, Egypt is more closer to black folks than you know, Africa is. But, you know, Africa and Egypt ain't the same place. Might be, I don't know, I'd have to look at the map. They might be near each other, you know, on the map. But, I'd have to look at it. But, they're two totally different races of people. Okay? And who did they take into slavery? The Hebrews. The Hebrew children of Israel. Okay? See, we were Hebrews before we were Israelites. Okay? And the Hebrew race died down a long time ago. Okay, now there are still classifications of people that call themselves Hebrews, but ain't nobody going to put that on the 11 o'clock news. Don't nobody care about that. Okay? But, you know, black people crack me up. And white people, because both black and white people keep relating black people to Africa. Don't you think if we were from Africa, there'd be something to connect us other than, you know, the color of our skin? We don't even look like Africans, most of us. Look, do this look like I'm from Africa? Look at his face. Do it look like I'm from Africa? And I'm not talking about the color of my skin. There's people in Africa lighter than me. But do I look like I come from Africa? Now let me go upstairs and get my neighbor. I'll show you an African. Okay? With his crazy self. But we are not African. We are more related to the Hebrews. We are the Hebrew race that died down, that is no more. That is no more. That's us. That is us. Okay? And then wherever the Hebrews, wherever they, you know, because they moved around. Now that's something I'd have to look up and study on. That's why we get called Africa, because the Hebrews did pass through Africa at one time, and probably even more so in this day and time, they're passing through Africa. But that doesn't make them African. That just makes them pass through that crowd of people, that area. Okay? You know. There's so much in that Bible that ties all this together. And here we are hating each other. But again, I believe that racism does exist in various peoples, both black, white, and other races. I don't believe in white supremacy, white privilege. I believe in money privilege. I believe in celebrity privilege. I believe in political privilege. You know, I believe in prestige. Okay, um, I don't believe in white supremacy. I don't believe in white privilege. Okay, when you go into the store and white people follow you around the store, it's not because of white privilege. It's because of fear of black crime, and that's simply what it is. That's what it is. It's fear of black people does not create white privilege. What you call white privilege is the stereotyping and fear of black people. It's not white privilege. And what you call white supremacy is white people profiling, and it's not like all these white people got together and had meetings about this all across the globe. That's not true. But it means white people are profiling you to prevent crime. And that's what it's all about. Crime and, you know, children out of wedlock, to protect our school boards and our school systems and our businesses and all like that. White people will profile black people. White people will always profile black people, and as we are entering into more black crime and more black fear of white supremacy and white privilege, now this causes white people to even profile us more. In closing, if you want to help yourself as a black person, stop trying to find yourself by the color of your skin. Find yourself as who your mama and your daddy and your grandmama was. Find yourself about what's your first name? What is it, David? Okay, David, listen. Find yourself by creating a life for David. Don't worry about what other people think of David. But David needs to do more than just only like rap music, because most black folks like rap music his age. Okay? David needs to dress the way David dressed instead of just dressing the way black people dress. David needs to look at a woman for the content of her character instead of the color of her skin. David needs to go get a job because he needs a job, not because he just wants to prove white racial profiling. Keep on going through all these profiles till you get yourself a job, brother. Forget about these white people. Because in closing, there's nothing you can do about it. There will always be racism coming from you and coming from them. We're all guilty of it. There will always be profiling. There will always be people who take on jobs, even the police department, for the wrong reasons. They want to get even with the people that beat them up when they was kids instead of protecting and serving. Okay? And I sympathize with you and I sympathize with them. But I do not believe that racism controls anything, because racism today is just ignorance. It is not control. Now, there was a time when we couldn't vote. Okay? There was a time when we couldn't cross this line. They put a line there, it could be anywhere, and they said don't cross it. If you cross it, you got lynched, and it was just a pathetic line. And they didn't want us using their bathrooms. You know what I mean? They didn't want us drinking from their water fountains. So, Jesse Lee, brother, wake up. What do you call it? If it ain't racism, what you call it? Okay, he said all this stuff didn't happen. We were better back then. And I believe that. I do believe we were better. But they weren't. They weren't. They were really rude to us back then. They'll even admit it. They will blame their ancestors and their parents for being so rude back then. So let them blame their parents and their ancestors for being rude. Stop telling them when they're blaming their ancestors and their parents for being rude. Stop telling them that that it didn't exist. It did exist, Jesse. It did exist. Okay? But now, I think we are on the verge of greatness. I think everything, we are slowly, but see, black folks are slowing things down. Here we are, as black people get more business oriented, as black people learn how to make money like these immigrants are doing, and we're getting beat by the immigrants every day. How is it that you see white people hanging out with all these immigrants, but they have less black friends? You know why? Because black people are afraid to step out there and make money. They're afraid to step out there and do business. They're afraid to take risks. They're afraid to get their hands dirty. They're afraid to humble themselves and take a slap and get back up and keep on going. They don't know how to do risks. They don't know how to you know, keep their enemies closer. They don't know how to play that game. Don't hate the player, hate the game, as we always say, right? This whole idea of racism is just a big fat game. It's not real. I hate to say that, it's not real. Racial profiling is real within people's so-called right to protect themselves from certain classifications of people. That's what that is. And so even though I want to be angry with them for it, I'm angry at black people because we keep staying in this dispensation of not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We just label everything white supremacy and white privilege, and that way we don't have to do anything to pick ourselves up and build what we're supposed to build. We have to stop. We have to stop. Okay? We have to leave these white people alone. Let these white people be white people. And we need to worry about us. We need to worry about what we're going to do. But forgive me if I don't want to be a Democrat. Forgive me if I don't want to celebrate rap music. Forgive me if I don't want to sag my pants. Forgive me if I don't hate Donald Trump. Forgive me, please. Because that, you know what I'm saying, you can take another bullet from a racist cop for all I care. You're not touching that. I have a right to vote for who I choose to vote for. Like I told this girl today, she tried to share a joke with me, and I just looked at her and I says, get out of my face with that. How about this? How about you be you and let me be me? She knows I'm not playing. Because joking or not, how you going to be black crying about racism every day and white privilege and white supremacy, but you going to try to black supremate your black folks? You going to try some black supremacy on me? You going to tell me I can't vote for certain people? I can't do this, I can't do that. The other day, somebody yelled at me because I was listening to non-black music and said, turn that mess off. Tried to lie to me and tell me I'm not allowed to listen to non-black music at work. What? I might be small, but I wasn't born yesterday. You ain't getting away with a lie like that. How about I go up and tell these white people that are in charge that you don't allow me to listen to non-black music at work? Let's see how that turns out. Now, what kind of supremacy you gonna call that? I've been on this video too long. D-Word Cruz, your life applications officer. I hope you understand. I hope you understand now that I've got it all out and I've said it all. I hope you understand. Thank you for watching.